What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Recovery Rebellion. My name is Tara Grace. I go by Burn the Stigma on social media, and this podcast is about unlearning all of the misinformation and bullshit that we've been taught about drugs and recovery. I am 3 weeks behind on uploading my interviews. I do apologize.
I included part of an episode I recorded last week that I never uploaded where I talk about tabling at the Boston Freedom Rally. So here it is.
I tabled at the Boston Freedom Rally, also known as HempFest. That's what we used to call it when I was younger. It's just a big cannabis advocacy event that MassCann puts on. And it's my second year having a table there. And this year it was all a 2-day event, which it hasn't been a 2-day event since I believe 2018. And on Saturday, SafeSpot joined me. And that was super cool. SafeSpot, if you don't know, is an overdose prevention hotline. They stay on the phone with people while people get high to make sure that they don't overdose. Well, I pulled up their website. I just wanted to share with you. So there's been 27 times that SafeSpot has had an overdose detection slash 911 activation, and they have had over 10,579 calls, right? And they have 40 hotline operators. It says the number one risk factor for fatal overdose is using alone, and we are there for you when others cannot be. We connect people who are using drugs with a trained operator who can call for help in case of overdose. This is not a recovery or treatment helpline. We are committed to your safety and confidentiality and provide this service to anyone who is at risk of overdose. So whatever drug you're using, you can give them a call. They'll stay on the line with you when you use to make sure that you don't overdose. And when you think about when you are in recovery, right, especially when you are deeply involved in a recovery community or you just have loved ones really involved in your life, the last thing that you're going to do is tell them, most people, right? Like most people, because there's so much shame and stigma, and then people take it personal. There was never going to be a time when I was going to use where I'd be like, oh yeah, like, hey mom, I'm going to go get high. Can you make sure I don't overdose? Like, yeah, right. So it's great that this hotline exists because we all know that if you set off and you're going to get high, you're going to get high. So having this service to be there is great. And then there are people who don't use every day, and we know they're at even higher risk for overdose because they don't have a tolerance. So again, a great service, but when it comes to events, right? You have recovery events and you don't see any cannabis and recovery at these resource tables. All of these resource tables at these recovery month events are programs. There might be a harm reduction table, but everything else is programs, sober living. There's nothing about, I mean, maybe there's some yoga, um, but for the most part, and I can't, obviously, I only went to the one event that I spoke at, but even the pictures that I've seen on the internet, these events, the resource tables are very abstinent-based recovery geared. There may be some tables that have things to get on Suboxone or to get Vivitrol or a Sublocade shot, whatever. But I would say recovery month events still seem very abstinent-based recovery. While I don't want to be a meeting participant, there's tons of cannabis and recovery groups and programs out there now. I shouldn't say tons, but especially on the internet. Like you can find a Zoom meeting for a cannabis and recovery group multiple times a day on the internet. And if you go to 420recovery.org backslash groups. I have to fix it, but I had them all send me because I was going to make a booklet and I'll get it done where they each have a page where it shows their groups because I want to give that out at the table to have the representation of cannabis and recovery and be like, look, there are groups out there. You know, the other part is that like I don't consider myself in recovery. I don't identify as a person in recovery because I do feel like I have healed and moved on from that. And I don't feel like my issues that I have anything to do with the heroin I used to shoot in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? That chaotic lifestyle that I used to live that I couldn't get out of it, I've been so far removed from it. I don't ever believe that there will be a day when I'm going to be like, yep, you know what? Shooting some drugs sounds like a really good idea.
Okay, back to what I recorded today.
So I do apologize for being 3 weeks behind on my interviews. I'm so annoying with that. I don't know. I'm turning 40 on Monday, so I keep telling myself 40 is like a real adult age. Um, I need to get it together. Like I'm gonna be 40 in a couple of days. I'm gonna be 40 years old, and I have these dreams and these aspirations, and I just keep getting in my own way. And we can say it's because I'm neurodivergent, because I have ADHD. All of those things are true. But like, what am I gonna do about it? Because plenty of people have those things and they figure it out. I'm resetting this weekend, like October 4th. Holy shit, right? It's fall. Like, it is the end of the year. It is the end of the year. We are in month 10, in month 10 of 12. It's like, it's just so frustrating to me. Sometimes it's like a whole nother year went by where I'm not anywhere near where I wanted to be when I set off for this fresh start every new year, right? I'm like, this is gonna be the year that I get it together and blah blah blah. And of course, with me turning 40 in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, now that I'm gonna be 40, I'm gonna get it all together. And it's just it doesn't work like that, right? Like I'm not just gonna magically wake up one day and just follow through with my to-do list. It does not work like that. It takes time and discipline. Anyways, it's probably super boring to listen to. So yeah, last weekend in my 30s, and I'm not sad about it at all. I am looking forward to my 40s. I feel like, my 20s, I was just destroying myself. My 30s, I was putting the pieces back together. And now in my 40s, I am fucking coming for everything that they said that I would never be able to have. Like, I'm coming for it. I'm looking forward to 40. It's one of those things like I love a fresh start, right? Like I love a new week, I love a new month, I love a new year. Like forget it, a new year. And now, right, I'm entering a new decade. So I'm like, my 40s, like I'm totally gonna have it together in my 40s. Like now that I'm gonna be 40, it's like I have the tools, but I don't follow through with them. And how do I do that? I don't know. I haven't figured it out. It sounds so simple, right? Just set up a plan for yourself, but I set up a plan for myself and then when it comes time to do the plan, it's like I almost forget that I set up a plan, right? Like it's so weird. I don't know. My brain is it's always been a little different. And that's why I always say for people who are neurodivergent, I think it's so much easier for the big book and the appeal of 12 step to really get their hooks into us because of the way that the quote unquote alcoholic is explained, right? Like always feeling different. Like I have always felt like I was a little different and I do totally believe that yes, I am a little different and that's okay. Um, but it's not okay when I'm trying to get shit done. That's for sure, but we'll figure it out. Going to events, right, and getting in with the community and talking to people in the community, like that's always like literally getting naloxone and test strips and information and resources into people's hands is fabulous, right? Like absolutely fabulous. But even at an event with thousands of people, even if I see a couple of hundred people, that's great, honestly, right? That's fabulous. But on social media, you can reach thousands. I mean, potentially could reach millions, right? And I'm sure I've talked about this before. I do think that social media is an important piece of the puzzle, especially because there is so much misinformation when it comes to social media, and there's so much of the war on drugs, abstinent-based message that is pushed through social media that we need more of the truth, right? The truth without all of the dogma and the bullshit. And I have spent a lot of time talking about the program, and this is kind of where I'm at this kind of crossroads when it comes to getting more involved in the local community. I was mostly doing the cannabis events, and then when I spoke for the Recovery Month, the Shame on Stigma event in Revere, like locally, looking at all the pictures between August for Overdose Awareness Day, all of the stuff, all of the events for that, and then looking at all of the events for Recovery Month in September. It's all of the same organizations that are showing up to these events time after time, and they're all the same type of message of recovery. When it comes to different pathways of recovery, you don't really see a whole lot of that representation there. And I would love to be an instrument of, cannabis and recovery, alternative recovery pathways, harm reduction, all of that stuff rolled into one. But that's a uncomfortable environment. Um, Straight up, I feel comfortable at cannabis events, obviously with a cannabis themed recovery type table. And I'm not even like a cannabis and recovery. I'm more of a harm reduction table, but I'm also representative of cannabis in recovery just to have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just to represent because there are so many people who use cannabis who are in recovery. When I was at the Freedom Rally, I had a couple of people come up to me who actually work in treatment and they were so excited. The girl said to me, she's like, to see this pot leaf, right? And then to see the Narcan next to it on this tape, she's like, that is so cool to me, right? And she's someone who uses cannabis, but she works in the treatment industry. And she had said, and I haven't heard from her, but she had said she was going to talk to where she works about me coming out and talking to them. But I haven't heard anything, which doesn't surprise me, right? There was a gentleman that came up to me he said that he does like street outreach. I didn't really understand his whole thing, but he was super excited and he had walked away from the table and then he saw some college age looking kids come up to the table and get the naloxone and the test strips and then he came over to me. He's like, that's so beautiful to see them. Like they were so receptive to it. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what's great about this is because harm reduction is for everyone. And honestly, the majority of people who use drugs are not the picture that you get in your head. Okay, so let me wrap this up so I actually get this edited and uploaded today. And then I do plan on uploading interview tomorrow. And then hopefully that will be the beginning of me getting on track to uploading the interviews every Sunday while I have them, which I have like 7 of them right now that I need to upload. So that's good. And then I have a few more people scheduled and I've talked to some other people about coming on, so we'll get them scheduled. So I think we'll do pretty good, do pretty well with interviews for Sundays, and then I would love to get an episode, like a solo episode in between, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And just thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you guys next time.